and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk with Encore. Today, we're excited to be discussing therapy home visits and how these types of visits can be impactful to both the patient as well as the clinician. Well, what we want to do when we're working at home visits is really increase that likelihood of a successful and safe discontinuation of therapy as our patients are transitioning, from the skilled nursing facilities where they've been receiving their therapy visits and then moving on to that next level of care. So let's start things off by talking about the purpose behind home therapy visits.
All right. So the purpose of home visits is to really just see how our patients and whatever person we're working with, how they function, in their home environment, doing the tasks that we've been working on as part of our therapy session. So this really helps us as therapists determine if any modifications need to be made in and around the home for access to their home. Just overall making mobility and functioning in their home environment more efficient, of course, as safe as possible, and then just overall easier for our patients. So we all know that, there's research out there that says fall prevention begins at home. So this is kind of where we as therapists kind of step in to make that happen. So not only we want to educate our patients on any modifications or safety aspects, but their families. And then, of course, we can also help set up resources to help them utilize that they'll need to be successful in their environment. So I know that Kelly and Becky will probably touch upon this more, but really just making sure if they need any specialized equipment, whether it's a grab bar or a ramp to get in their home, or even just kind of going beyond just the mobility to, med management and then even meal services. So I think Kelly, you as an OT, what are you kind of looking for when you do a home visit?
So when I'm going in for a home visit, obviously being an OT, I'm looking at those ADLs and IDLs, making sure that they're able to do them independently. But the way I do my home visits is I kind of take that person-centered approach. Instead of me saying, hey, I want you to do this. Can you do this? I say, take me through your day. How do you function? So really looking at it from their perspective, this is where I keep my shoes. This is where I keep my clothes, and really taking through, them through their day. Like I said, really going back to that patient-centered approach. So I'm looking for not only that they're able to do the ADL and IADL physically, but also that they have the best possible setup for them to be successful when they return home. And sometimes that comes with some sort of environmental changes. And I think sometimes when we think about modifying the environment of the home, people think these big, crazy renovations, changing a shower type or, widening a doorway, whatever it may be. But really, there are very small changes that we can very easily make to either adapt their environment or modify their routine or their process to really increase the independence with that task. So for example, if you have a patient who now has balance issues and they didn't have balance issues before, before they were able to maybe reach those shoes that they kept under the bed, now it's definitely not safe for them to be reaching under the bed where they generally keep their shoes. We can look and say, hey, is there anywhere else that we could keep these? We're trying to reduce the amount of bending. If they insist on keeping those shoes in that spot because that's where they've kept them for the last 40 years, maybe we can say, okay, let's use a reacher then and make this task a little bit safer. I'm also looking at where they're keeping things in their kitchen. So do they have easy access to their favorite fry pan or a cup that they always use? Making sure that they're not having to do too much overhead reaching or reaching down below. So just really, again, looking at where they're keeping their things. So not only that they're physically able to do the task, but that it's just the best setup for them. We can also look at object placement in regards to activity tolerance. Is this setup the most efficient where we're going to expend the least amount of energy to be able to complete this task? So ultimately, our goal as OTs is that our patients are functionally as independent as possible when they return home. And a home visit can be a really vital part of that process.
Mhm.
So from a PT perspective, I love that Kelly said we're going to walk through their day, right? So from a PT perspective, I literally want to watch them walk through their day, walk into the house, walk through the rooms, look at what's their favorite chair. Is it that recliner or is it that soft squishy couch? Can they actually get out of that chair? What's their favorite chair at the dining room where they're going to sit to eat their meals? Does it have arms or doesn't it have arms? Are they walking on carpet or tile? Are there crazy thresholds that they have to get over or steps that they forgot to tell us about? You know, I always talk to my parents and I laugh because they tell me, oh, it's okay, you know, that I'm all on one level once I get to that part of the house. I'm like, yeah, but you go out on the deck to have coffee every day and that's 2 steps down. So it might not all be on one level, but I need to find out what their general routine looks like so I can figure out what things we still need to work on before we set up that final discharge home. And maybe it's adding an extra cushion to that favorite couch so that it's a little bit higher for them and they can get out of it. Or maybe it's saying, you know what, if we just move this area rug that you love the looks of slightly to the left, you're less likely to trip on it because we can get that edge under another chair so it has that weight so it's not pulling up a little bit. And again, like Kelly said, we want to make those easy, cheap modifications to the house and the routine versus really redesigning someone's house, but we want to make them successful.
Agree. You know, actually, Becky, as you're talking, I was thinking of, home visits that I've done in the past, when there's been a pet in the house. And, you've got a dog running around, or you've got a cat running around, and, you think about things like, how is this individual going to change the kitty litter or get the dog in and out of the house and that kind of thing. And so really having that hands-on feel and really being able to see and feel from that patient's perspective, how they're going to be able to, take care of themselves or, their pets and whatnot in the house. Certainly it's an important thing for clinicians to be able to work on, because, being that individual that can, again, see and feel what is going to be going on for that individual for that safe discharge. We can then identify adaptations that are required in the home. We can identify potential hazards within the environment. And it's really, I think, going to give the patients and their families that peace of mind that they will potentially, have that safe and successful transition in care as they're discontinuing their therapy services in a skilled nursing facility and then moving on to that next level of care. So certainly all very important things, and so glad that we were able to have this conversation today. And hopefully we're going to get therapists really excited about wanting to do some home visits and really discussing these kinds of things with their patients that they're currently working with. But I do want to thank everyone for listening today, and taking a moment to listen to our discussion on therapy home visits. And we look forward to having you tune in again for our next episode of Coffee Talk with Encore.